Welcome to GameRomp Easy Mode, a podcast where we talk about games and try to be chill and easygoing. You know the deal, probably. I'm David.
I'm Deanna.
Let's talk about some games. And this is episode number 7, so if you've been enjoying this at all, I guess, feel free to rate us on your podcast thing. You know, the thing every podcaster says. I'm not going to hassle you too much about it. Okay, let's get going.
Okay, that works.
This week, we're in the summertime, so all the fun game shows are happening. We already saw the PlayStation one.
And I saw you had marked some of them on the calendar already.
Yeah.
Was it Xbox and one other?
There's the two big ones that I want to see are the Game Fest, which is Jeff Keighley.
Gotcha.
That's on Friday, and then Microsoft has its Go thing on Sunday, I think. But yeah, I got to mark down. Microsoft is going to be interesting just because like they've been going through a lot of drama with layoffs and stuff.
Yeah,
but
that'll be interesting.
I also want to see what Bethesda is up to because, like, I mean, you put out a super hit show, Fallout show, you don't really have anything to do with the games. Like, they've put, even in Fallout 76, their live service game, they have barely done anything. I think the next big update in this month, I don't know what point this month, but they're adding like a whole new map expansion. And like one of the things that they added from the show is like movie posters. And it's got Cooper from the show. He's like the man with the dog or the man in the 6-shooter or whatever. This Western shows that
I know this is going to be silly, but every time you say Cooper, I'm going to have to remember it's the zombie guy and not
yeah, I know.
Agent Cooper.
Which is weird because Agent Cooper is in Fallout as well.
Yeah, it's a little confusing.
That must have been interesting. Those two characters don't ever talk to each other in the show, I don't think.
Not yet. We'll see if they meet up in New Vegas.
But that'd be funny to like just be like hearing. I don't know. They're not going to do that, obviously, because
I don't know.
You can't reference.
Well, no, they couldn't reference it specifically, but I'm sure if somehow those two characters end up meeting in New Vegas, that they could argue that, like, they're going to have Kyle's character say something about, oh, Cooper, to the other guy or some shit. It would be funny. I'm just saying. I
saw some comments online about, like, oh, it's a shame they didn't make Agent Cooper.
Kyle.
They didn't make him do his, like, that's a dime...
That's a damn fine cup of coffee.
Yeah, but like do instead like, oh, that's a damn fine cup of Nuka-Cola. Anyway, why did I get onto Fallout? Oh yeah, because of the Bethesda show.
Yeah, actually it would be interesting to see what Bethesda has going forward and how they may work with Microsoft. Because I heard something that Bethesda wanted to have more teams to work on, more of their games simultaneously.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Instead of just one team working on one game at a time. Because, everyone's just waiting for Elder Scrolls, 6, 5, or...
I don't know.
I keep calling it Skyrim instead of Elder Scrolls.
I think Skyrim is 5.
Okay, so Elder Scrolls 6, say, whatever.
But yeah, I mean, considering Fallout 4 came out, has it been almost 10 years? I forget what year that came out, but it's been so long.
Already? I think
it was 2016 or 2015.
But Skyrim has been out for 11 years or so, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And Fallout 4 came out soon after?
Yeah, the time between Skyrim and Fallout 4 was a lot shorter than the time between Fallout 4 and now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit, I did not realize Skyrim and Fallout had come out that close together.
It's been crazy. Game development is just so slow, I guess, nowadays.
Well, they're trying to get so realistic. I mean, it's ridiculous. So realistic and so open world in the case of Fallout.
I guess there's that, but then, like, just the fact that Bethesda has, like, the one team. So it's like, well, now we're working on Starfield, which, a lot of people didn't even like anyways. And then we got to wait for Starfield before they can start working on Elder Scrolls. Now we got to wait for Elder Scrolls to be finished before they start working on the next Fallout.
Well, hopefully with this Microsoft show that they'll figure it out.
I mean, we'll see.
If they have the money of Microsoft, assuming Microsoft doesn't fuck them over too.
Yeah.
They should have plenty of money to have simultaneous teams.
Considering how Microsoft has been shutting down studios, it makes me wonder what they think of Bethesda, because they spent so much money in Bethesda. They released Starfield, and people are just like, about Starfield.
Yeah, well, people loved what Hi-Fi Rush and some of the other games, and they're just like, yeah, we're shutting down the studios. So like, what gives? Are they only going to keep shitty games? Like, it doesn't make sense. Not that every game that Bethesda comes out with is going to be shitty, hopefully, but it's just weird.
Well, shitty is
Was it objective?
yeah, it's up to personal preference or perspective. Like,
Okay, but the general consensus was that Starfield was not great. Whereas
yeah,
the general consensus of the studios they actually did shut down was, this is fucking great, we need more of this, and they're just like,
that's the
no.
thing though. Like, it's interesting to think about that because like you often hear about people talking about indies and like, oh, look at the interesting stuff that indies are doing, and there's so many indie games, and yet like the biggest selling games are still the Call of Duties and like that kind of stuff. And it's like it's easy to see why the shows are so full of that garbage because that's what people apparently want, or
I mean, I
the
guess
general public, anyways.
there is going to be the case of even what little social media I'm exposed to would be maybe partially an echo chamber.
Yeah.
But and we'll talk about this in a few minutes, but when I saw the reception of the PlayStation show,
Mm-hmm.
people were like, most of the opinions that I personally saw was like, we're so sick of these 5 versus 5 players. Like,
Oh god, yeah. I've been sick of that since day one.
we don't want superhero games anymore because those are going down the toilet in general. We don't want fucking Overwatch because Overwatch shot itself in the foot, came out with Overwatch 2, and that just went to hell too. And it doesn't make sense. And no one wants these games anymore, but they're constantly making this.
It's because these companies see somebody Overwatch made a ton of money, so we got to make our own Overwatch with less interesting characters. But it takes years and years and years and years to develop these games. By the time you're done, everyone's sick of that crap anyways. It's the same old thing. Like even back in the day when WoW was out, it's like, oh, everyone wants to make an MMO, and then like League of Legends was a huge hit. Oh, we got to make a MOBA, and now Overwatch was the thing. Oh, we got to make this team-based action thing.
And even with indies, you can see it too, because now everyone's coming out with their own cottage core, chill, relax,
Yeah,
farming
game.
games and stuff.
The Survivor.
And it's like, I already have Stardew Valley. If I want to chill,
well,
cottage cozy, then I'm just probably going to stick with Stardew Valley, which is another point that'll come up later.
I don't totally agree with that though, because I mean it is good that some people are making new takes on it. Like for example, okay, this is also kind of it's a good and a bad example, but like Stardew Valley, okay, farming game. What do we want to make? Do we make somebody makes like a 3D version? Like there's that Coral Island one, and then there's Palia, but Palia is also a bad example because they were chasing the live action money. So it's like, it's hard. You can come up with the idea of I want to make this except my own twist on it. Like My Time in Sandrock apparently is good. I've actually never played it. It looks cute, but there are people that are making good versions of these things. And like another example of a game that went crazy was Vampire Survivor. And then there was a million other Survivor games out there.
Yeah. So the basic point is, yeah, there are these certain games that come out, hit the big time for whatever reason, good or bad, and then even other indie developers will start doing the same thing. And you'll see that, like, yeah, the farming game section has this run through of time, and then eventually it'll wane off, and then Vampire Hunters comes in and everyone starts copying, so it's influx, and then that wanes over time. And now we sort of have like the Among Us was the starting thing, and then they came out with what is the new one?
It was like Phantasmagoria or something.
There was Phantasmagoria, and then there's Lethal Company.
Yeah.
And I think there was like the hunting one that the Yogscast did, and there's like it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like the genre comes out. Survival was another big one, which like Rust. There's one I still want to play next time it goes on sale. Hopefully I can afford it. Green Hell.
Mm-hmm.
That's like crafting survival thing. And people at some point were like, we're so fucking sick of these survival games and crafting
yet you
games.
see like Power World came out this year, and that's Pokemon with Rust and survival mechanics, and that went crazy big.
Yeah. So it's like even
So it is
the
fun.
big developers will have like the 5 versus 5 Overwatch games.
It is fun that people are taking these games that they like and deciding, oh, I want to make one of those. It's not always just, I want to make this game to make money. It's, I liked Vampire Survival, and I want to make my own kind of thing, maybe with a little twist.
There's a little blend of both that comes out of
And
the
like,
same
I
time.
really enjoyed Power World, for example. I hate Rust, but I loved Pal World, so go figure. Yeah, I mean, it could be the same for other people. Like,
I enjoyed Rust to a certain extent, and then I didn't enjoy like Pal Worlds.
well, I mean more sense like, oh, maybe I kind of liked Stardew, but there was something in it or whatever that didn't quite hit. And I'm just making a hypothetical person here. I don't know. And maybe they played like Sandrock
And they
or
enjoyed that
Pal
more.
World or whatever, and like, oh, this is what I wanted Stardew to be, and it's like got that little twist. And yeah, so it's good that people are like,
Yeah, that's fair.
it's not always just a bad thing to be like, oh, look at this guy copying Overwatch or copying Vampire Survivors or Stardew. Like, good things can come of it.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
I know when we were toying with developing games for a bit, we wanted to do like a Survivor game and like a Vampire Survivor game with like ghosts in a graveyard, and it was just a
Don't
fun
give too
little.
much away.
Well, we're probably never gonna make that, but it's just fun to be like, what if this concept, but with this subject or this little twist, and like I do the same. Like I have a dream game for like an Advance Wars clone,
I still have dream games.
and it's like, oh, if I could just make this game that's kind of like Advance Wars, except it has this twist or that twist, and it's like that is fun, and it could lead to good games. It's just, it's hard, and making games is hard, and there's only so much time in the world.
And we have so many projects we want to do.
Or projects we don't want to do.
I mean, I still kind of like my game idea. Mine was kind of like, not to get too into it, but one game was taken, actually two of the games were basically taken old school games that I remember from my childhood. So here's me being old. They're well over 2 decades, if not almost 3 decades old. And I just want to bring them into the modern age because for whatever reason, I haven't seen a spiritual successor to either one of those.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I guess there would technically be new twists on it, especially the first one we planned. It would definitely have a new twist because it's, helping monsters, not hurting them. But the other one was just bringing it up to modern standards. Is that enough of a twist? I have no idea, but...
Well, you see that with The Sims, too. Like okay, The Sims...
I am looking forward to the spiritual successor one.
The Sims, obviously is in a bad place right now because EA. But then there's the one everyone knows about. I forget its name. But then there's also this new Sims clone, for lack of a better word, that is made.
Paralives.
Yeah, that one. There's another one though that is being made that is going for a more kind of realistic look, which is, I don't know, whatever. But I've seen people get excited about that too.
You'll have to show me later because now I'm curious. But I think I'll probably stay with Paralives.
I don't know the name of it, but it's a Chinese developer. You know, we're in an interesting time, and this is going to be a tangent, where there's a lot more Chinese developers now.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of them on Steam especially.
And it's like, I remember, when I was a kid, like, it was Japanese games. And like this is back in the 80s, so like, a lot of Americans and Westerners didn't have a great view of Japan. They were like, oh no, this Asian country is doing so well, and they're gonna be our bosses one day. And you'd see that like in Back to the Future, or like, all the media of the time, like Blade Runner, like scared of the Japanese. They're too strong.
Yeah, I remember that.
And like now we're in this situation where China is putting out a lot of new media, and I guess I don't know a lot of Chinese media, but I've seen a lot of Chinese games, and like I'm playing one. Genshin Impact is a Chinese game, and it's really well done, aside from the monetization. But it's an interesting kind of, I don't know if it's a parallel, but like back then, Japan was, kind of a scary thing for Americans, and they were giving us a lot of media in the form of video games. And today, China is kind of scary, and they're giving us a lot of media. And it's like, it'll be interesting to see how things develop over the next couple of decades, because like in my like most, I don't want to say naive, but maybe like hopeful outlook, trying to look on a positive side and be hopeful for a better future, I would love for US and China to be able to share media and like grow to like each other like the US and Japan did. But I don't know if that's going to be as easy.
I think there's going to be, not to get too into it, but I think there's going to be a slight difference because
I know.
It's usually the governments. As far as like the people sharing the media, I don't see that going too bad.
Well, that's what I mean. Like it's obviously a different situation with China, but like I would hope that like it's just, this is geopolitical stuff is way too deep for this podcast, but it would be nice if everyone could just, be chill with each other. But I know that's kind of wishful thinking. We'll see. In the meantime, I like their games. I like Genshin. I like its music. I like its art is just anime stuff, whatever. But like there's potential there. I mean, everyone in every culture, there's good and bad, so including media, I guess.
I will say though, like for all the games, all the Chinese games that I've seen popping up on Steam, and this is just because of the genre of games I do play and the genre of games I don't play. I don't really even play Japanese games or anime games, if you
You're
will.
playing a Japanese game now.
Well, okay, but I mean like anime girl waifu husbando type of games.
Well, you're not really much of an anime person, I don't
Yeah,
think.
so that's the thing. What I mean is I don't really play any of the Chinese games because they seem to be like those anime waifu husbando kind of based games. It's always like the cute girls
For
and
for
stuff
gacha
like that.
games, yeah, there's been
And that's mostly what I see, so I'm just like not personally
I don't know if
interested.
it's been studies necessarily, but there's correlation on how much, for example, Genshin, since it's the biggest one. There's correlation for how much money they make depending
How cute the characters are.
on the current banners. Yeah, we talked about this last time, but like banners are basically like every month or 3 or 2 weeks, I don't know the timetable exactly, they put out a banner and it's like, this is the featured character, you have a higher chance of getting this character.
Yeah.
And if it's a really cute girl, they make a lot more money than if it's just a dude.
Poor dudes.
And it's like,
No one loves
it's
dudes.
interesting. It's just interesting. But like, there was another game that was released from China, I think, called Wuthering Waves, and it's basically, I think Genshin Impact except slightly different art style. It's still anime, but it's like taller, less cute, more sexy, I guess, if you want to use these dumb
Which
terms.
is weird because like Genshin can already be kind of.
But Genshin is more cuter. It's more
I
chibi, I guess. Where Wuthering Waves is like, their proportions are more of that taller kind of look.
Oh jeez.
And some of the characters' boobs are just like blong blong
Yeah,
blong. And their
I
outfits,
see that and I'm like, nope.
I know,
ain't
yeah,
touching
yeah. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't look as good as Genshin, to be honest with you. It's
The sound effect.
I mean, you know what I'm sure people
I
know
know.
when like they think certain games with their anime girl boobs.
Sex games.
They're not even sex games though.
No, I know, but the proportions are starting to reach those levels.
It's just a character that has big old, and they
Titties.
bounce around like they're underwater constantly. It's anyway, that's a whole other issue. Wuthering Waves, which just released and has that art style, released, and their first banner was a dude. And so people are like, they still made this much money even though it's a dude, and now the next month is going to be this banner with some lady, and we'll see their income just skyrocket. And it's interesting that this is how they make money. Like, when you're free to play in this gacha thing, like, you're incentivized to make these characters that people are attracted to, I guess. Because, like, I don't know. I don't pay these games money, so I can't even imagine. But, like,
An economy based on looks.
kinda. It's the old sex sells thing. If people like and are attracted to the characters, then you're gonna make more money. So they're incentivized to do that.
Figures.
You even see that in the modding community. Like, if you go to any game, Skyrim, Fallout, Monster Hunter, Genshin, any game that has mods, some of the mods are like, I like this outfit, but I'm going to change it a little bit. And they make that mod versus the mod like, this character's outfit is now just a bikini and her boobs are like 3 times bigger.
Yeah.
The download differences and stuff is massive.
Yeah.
And it's,
I will say, I don't think I have seen that for Stardew Valley mods.
well,
I know.
Stardew,
I will say though, I have seen a mod that like the portraits will be like heftier.
I think you just cannot
Or
compare
one
a
that,
2D and a 3D game because sprites, and like with the 3D game you get like the full body and you can like zoom in and look around, and like it's more immersive. Like, you can see them from far away, you can see them from up close, whereas in a sprite game they're always going to be that little sprite. So
I
it's
know,
like
but the
there's
portraits get changed.
less true. There's just less room for that kind of
There's no jiggle
gawking.
There's no jiggle physics.
And like
I could just now imagine like a mod in Stardew where like the girl characters are just walking around and the few pixels that are their boobs just constantly fluctuate and to simulate jiggle physics or something.
yeah. Anyway,
I mean, there are joke mods.
I think you kind of just broke my brain there for a second. So let's move on to something else.
Okay.
So yeah, game shows. Hopefully we'll see something interesting.
Oh yeah, the big thing I wanted to talk about.
I was excited about Monster Hunter,
Okay.
but I won't go too much into that because, like, I mean, whatever. I know you're not interested in Monster Hunter, but yeah.
Maybe one of the listeners is.
The Monster Hunter Wilds looks interesting, I guess. There's a lot of speculation about like two of the characters returning from Monster Hunter 4, and like
Is anyone happy about the Palicos talking?
some people are, some people aren't. That one's very mixed online. I'm definitely on the side of I don't want to hear the cutesy anime voice coming from the cats. I just want to hear the meows because the meows are cute and funny. Like the cats always talked. In every game, if you talk to the cat, they'll make the meow sounds, but you'll get the dialogue box. And that to me was perfect because I just don't like high pitched cutesy anime voices. Like Genshin Impact has that too with one of your follower thing, Paimon. She's got that high pitched voice, and like I guess I kind of got used to it, and she can be funny at least. But like it's a very delicate line, and I don't know. I think for the cats, especially because they've already had such a fun personality with their meows. And like just hearing your cat go meow, and like you look at it and it's just flying through the air because a monster like hit it with its tail or something. It's funny versus like the cat saying anything in that high pitched voice, whatever.
It's just going to be grating for you.
For me personally, that kind of thing is grating. But you know, in Monster Hunter Rise, they had a lot of voice options where you could turn off voices during combat. So if they do that, and maybe there's a mod or an option just to have the meows back, I would love that. Other than that, it looks interesting. There's not too much info besides the trailer out, like just some basic ideas. There was one funny part in the trailer where like the frog monster or the bear, I forget which of the monsters, the big monsters, was getting attacked by a bunch of little raptors. And because the frame rate in the trailer was kind of bad, I seriously just, it took me back to watching like those old black and white movies of like the stop motion like T-Rex attacking the stop motion like Triceratops or whatever, and it had that look to it, which is I'm sure not what they were going for, but it was really funny.
Yeah, something goofed in the trailer.
Yeah, I think that was the only thing in the Sony show that was, well, there was Silent Hill 2. The trailer for Silent Hill 2 this time was a lot better because it focused more on like the atmosphere and like the feeling versus the first trailer where they're like, this is just Resident Evil 4. The first trailer of Silent Hill 2 they put out was just action and action, and that's not what Silent Hill is about. It's more about the feeling and the tension and like everything else. And this trailer captured that better, so maybe there's hope for it.
Now, I do have one question for you. I don't get into the community, maybe you do more than I do. I heard there was some talk that people didn't like the girl character in the graveyard.
Yeah.
Is that because they made her chunkier looking in the face, or was there something else to it?
Oh, I don't know specifically. I guess it's always going to be tough because Silent Hill 2 had the original, not the remake. The original had this like uncanny feeling to everyone's talking. Like you always hear about that like uncanny valley with certain characters in video games. Silent Hill 2 like really straddled the line of that, but like in a good way, because it's unsettling sometimes when you're talking to someone and they're just like behaving just a little too weird, but like not in a bad way, like I don't trust this person, or well, you shouldn't, I guess, but like there's just something off about them, but like in the weird way where it kind of makes sense for a Silent Hill game where you're in a weird town and things are off, so the people are a little off too. And now in the remake, I guess she kind of lost that energy a bit, and she does look a little different, but like I think she looks fine.
I mean, the main character guy was changed too.
So. Yeah, everyone just looks different. It's whatever. This is just a personal preference kind of thing. I think they look fine. It's not better, it's not worse. It's just different. It'll be interesting to see Eddie. I don't think they've shown him yet, or Pyramid Head. I don't want them to make Pyramid Head look like the movie Pyramid Head, because the movie Pyramid Head is like this buff guy with like...
Yeah, they've been turning Pyramid Head into a bimbo, we know.
Whereas like the original Pyramid Head is just kind of like this weird thing, and like his clothing just kind of looks like something a butcher would wear, or like a sack. It's just really weird, and he was lanky.
Yeah, it's kind of like an apron-ish.
Yeah. And then in the movie, they made him like super buff, and it's like, don't do that in the remake, please. So we'll see. I guess besides those two, everything else in the show is just kind of meh.
Now, quick question, and you can deny answering this if it counts as a spoiler. The main character is James, or is that the first one? Okay, James. Are the people that he meets up with in his mind like the monsters are in his mind, or are they actually stuck in there with him as their own people?
They're real.
Okay. Because I know the monsters are like, oh, the monsters in Silent Hill are based on your internal issues or whatever.
It really depends, yeah.
If the people counted as well.
It really depends on the game and like what version of Silent Hill. Because, like, yeah, James is in Silent Hill and he's got his own things going. But, like, in the previous game with Henry, when he was looking for Cheryl, his daughter, that was more like Silent Hill was projecting onto him versus where in this one, it's kind of like James getting his own thing projected into the world. It's a mess.
Now, if Silent Hill, okay, again, if Silent Hill is where you meet the monsters that are based on your inside issues or whatnot.
Not always, but sometimes.
Okay. Do the other people also see the monsters the same as you do? Or do they see other things and you can't see their monsters?
We're getting into spoiler territory now.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, that's fine.
But I'll just say that, yeah, that's kind of a big plot point in 2, so...
Okay, then we don't have to go off.
Yeah, maybe we'll play the remake. Because, like, I tried to get you to play the original, because, like, it is so good. But it's so hard to get that to run on modern systems. Or, I don't know, maybe we just goofed up. I don't know.
Because I was playing for a while and we got to...
We have to try again. And it's just, maybe I'll play it. I don't know. I don't... The gameplay is fine. But I want you to experience the story. And, like, it is so important to get, like, all of the story. And to see how the ending gets you. Because the ending of that game is just amazing to me.
Okay, that's fair.
Even thinking about it now and thinking about the people who would know the letter read at the end, just like, wow.
If you know, you know.
Anyway, so yeah, the Sony show. Other than that stuff, what, you got that dumb Overwatch clone?
No, I think we went over that enough. People don't want it. It's fine.
Yeah, it's dumb looking.
And my thing was just that, like, oh, this looks like Overwatch meets
except boring
Guardian of the Galaxy, but like a decade later.
I guess it's just the art style. I don't know. It just doesn't.
I didn't necessarily mind watching the like cinematic thing they had that started up, but a lot of people were like hating on everyone in the thing. It's like, fine, whatever. It's just I don't have much experience watching those kind of cutscenes, so I wasn't like overwhelmed with I've seen this shit a million times before. So
I guess
whatever. No, my big thing that I wanted to bring up that I researched for 5 minutes before starting this podcast was the God of Ragnarok release on PC. Now, this doesn't... War? Yeah, what did I say? God of Ragnarok?
Yeah.
Sorry. God of War Ragnarok. Whatever. They're releasing that in September on PC. Now, we both know at the very least that God of War is a single-player game.
Yeah.
There is no online.
I guess. I actually don't know.
There is no online. It's single-player only.
Okay.
But Sony has not learned from Helldivers. And do you remember what happened?
Yes, with the Sony account thing.
Right. Now, I can understand that for a game like, I guess Helldivers is completely multiplayer or something akin to that. And in Ghosts of Tsushima, there is an aspect that has multiplayer. So I understand that for a multiplayer game, you're going to have an account. And it sucks for Helldivers because...
Isn't a Steam count enough?
Apparently not. Sony wants you to have their account. The weird part is they're making people who are playing a single player game, God of War, you are going to have to need a PlayStation account.
Yeah.
Now the big thing outside of just it's a fucking single player game, why do you need an account for this? There are only 73 countries that can even make a Sony account. And like I think it was 118 countries that cannot, like, at all. So they're barring more than half the world from even playing this game. Because if your country is not included on that 73 count list, Steam will not sell it to you at all.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't make sense.
No, not
like,
really.
Sony is forcing people to have their account and it's just like they're gonna cut out more than half the world of playing a single player game because they just fucking need you to have an account. That they're probably going to get leaked anyway.
It depends. Like, I obviously I don't really know what they're thinking. And it's either they researched and they figured losing some money from these countries where they probably weren't going to make that much anyways is okay. Or more likely they just don't know what the hell they're doing. But I can see, unless they're planning to make their own PC store, which good luck with that. I don't know. It's just, it's a bad idea. It's dumb. Like, everyone should learn at this point that PC gamers are really, for lack of a better word, and entitled, I guess. They just want everything on Steam. And I get it. It's convenient. But, like, when Steam takes such a big cut, corporations in this capitalist world are going to be like, wait a minute, why are we giving 30% of our income to this other company when we can just do it ourselves? And we have the, like, it's kind of like Nintendo. Nintendo could just put Zelda on Steam, but like, why would they give Steam 30% when they can take all the profits and then earn a little bit more selling consoles too sometimes?
But even with that thought, you don't need... Wait, do you need a specific account to play on Switch? I mean, I know you make the account on Switch, but like, are any countries barred from making a Switch account?
Honestly, you know, what's funny is like, I don't think would you need to make an account on your PlayStation to play these games? Because I don't think I have. Well, okay, I probably have a PlayStation account for my PS4, but like, I never use it. Like, could you just throw the disc in the system and play it? Or do you have to, I don't know. I have no idea.
But it's just like,
I mean, everyone wants accounts at this point. Like, all these companies, like Sony, Nintendo, they all do have a system for accounts, and they try to push that. I guess, especially if you're going to make digital sales, you need that. So, yeah, I guess I can see where they're trying to strong arm people into making accounts so that it is easier to move them to their ecosystem later. That is, like, probably the ultimate goal. But PC gamers are very resistant to that. And you know what? I mean, fair. It is.
Yeah, because you have to log into Steam to buy the game, assuming they even fucking allow it in your country. And then you have to download it on Steam, and then I have to make an account. No one on Steam wants to fucking open up a third-party app.
No, I know. It's dumb. Like, if you're on Steam, just leave it on Steam. Use the Steam account system. If you're on Epic, use the Epic one. If you're on the Microsoft Store or at Game Pass, use that one. It's like, don't make... This is why I probably am not going to play any more Ubisoft games either, because, like...
Yeah, because they have their installer. Rockstar tried theirs, and I think they finally shut it down or something.
Bethesda shut down theirs, too.
No one wants to fall for that shit. And yeah, maybe if you want to put it under PC players or entitled or something, but no one wants fucking, like, 10 launchers on their computer.
No, I mean, I agree. I don't want one launcher. I don't even want my Steam launcher. I know I'm kind of in the minority there. I just wish I could just, back in the old day, just have the game installed on the computer and run it from desktop without having to boot up Steam or boot up Epic or any of this crap.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know, I will say, there was a time when I really liked the Epic launcher because it was so bare bones. People were complaining. Yeah, they complained back in the day, oh, where's my friends list? Where are my achievements? And, like, Epic was like, fine, we'll do all this stuff. But, like, it was better back then. There were no achievements. There was nothing. You could just install the game, play it from your desktop, and you would never be interrupted. It was beautiful. Now, when I play a game on Epic, I can't even turn off the achievements. At least Steam lets me turn off the achievements. So I was playing Orcs Must Die. And it's like, oh, after this story segment, you get the achievement. And the achievements on Epic are so loud and obnoxious. Like, in Steam...
They're loud?
In Steam, there's like a little square that pops up in the bottom right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any noise. On Epic, it does like a doom ding. It makes a noise like that, and it makes a big box in like the center of the screen. It is obnoxious.
I'll have to try and get that to activate, because I don't think I've seen that.
Unless I'm fucking stupid and I just don't know how to turn them off. I Googled it. I could not figure out how to turn off achievements on Epic.
Because I know while I was playing, usually when I'm playing a game on Steam, like say Stardew Valley, and I happen to get an achievement I somehow haven't gotten before, I know in Steam what that little box that comes up in the corner looks like.
I turned that off on Steam too, so I don't look at them.
But when I was playing Death and Taxes, I was getting achievements, but it wasn't doing the box pop-up.
Some games have like in-game achievements.
I didn't see, like, the achievement was activating, but I didn't get anything in the game from an in-game UI, and I didn't get anything from Steam. It was
Maybe you have them turned off as well? Because I have mine turned off because I just don't like the little pop-ups and the very notion of achievements, to be honest, but that's a whole other issue.
That's a you issue.
Yeah, I mean, I'm old and cranky and a curmudgeon, and just like, the achievement is playing the game. I don't need like a developer who's sitting down like, whoa, you gotta come up with some achievements to, you know, fill the quota and to make this.
Do you remember the achievements for Undertale though?
No, I have my achievements on Steam turned off.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure it's in Undertale. I think he was directed to make achievements for people.
Yeah, I heard the
story.
And
he had a fucking blast with those, with the titles and everything.
That's the thing. Like, he had
fun with it.
He had fun with it. But, like, there's a lot of companies, especially in the AAA space, where, like, they're directed. We got to make achievements because there's achievement hunters out there. So, like, well, I'm gonna sit down and be like, what is the achievement? Oh, you beat level 1. Oh, you beat level 5. Oh, you beat level 10. Oh, you beat the game.
You know,
Oh,
with some
you
of
collected
those,
every collectible. Oh, you did. And it's like, I'm just gonna make this list of busy work for people to do so that they can get their icon and their
no, I know.
points. And it's like, for me, I don't get any enjoyment out of that. And like, oh god, I've already ranted about this too much and probably alienated some people.
It's fine. You can have your opinion.
I
They
just
have
don't like
theirs.
achievements. I think they're dumb. So
That's
whatever.
fair.
If you like them,
But
hey,
I
good for
have
you.
wondered with some of the games that I've had, which are mostly, I think, indie. I'm not entirely sure. But I know there was one game where you get an achievement just for starting the game. Now, I think my best guess is that they put in that achievement not to actually be an achievement thing, but almost if they, because it'll tell you the percentage of people that have the achievement. I wonder if some of the companies or game developers are putting in the achievements just to see how many people get to a certain point.
Yeah, you could do that. That's kind of like a
'Cause I know,
public way
like,
of doing it. Because like you see that come up in a lot of discussions on Reddit too. Like, oh, how come only like 5% of the people beat the game or got this achievement? And it's like, I will say, despite me being a curmudgeon like literally seconds ago, that is one that is kind of interesting in the sense of like the stats of like this many people beat Melania in Elden Ring, and it's like, oh, that's actually more or less than expected, etc. So like in that sense, achievements can be interesting. I just don't like the notion of them being like
worth
in,
something.
well, if they were actually worth something, they would be good. But no, like, so like, okay, the way they are now, and they pop up, and it's like, oh, you did this, congratulations, here's 10 points or whatever, or platinum points. Every system is different. To me, that's whatever. I don't care about that. Just don't even show me because it's just a distraction and it's annoying. But if they're just tracking it anyways, and then later on when you're looking at statistics of like how many people that played the game made it to the end game, that is more interesting. But I guess that's because stats are interesting, less so that than the achievements themselves. Because those are the, I guess, the boring achievements of like, you beat this boss, achievement, you beat this stage, here's an achievement. And then there's achievements that are just like, buy every single outfit in the game or craft every single hat in Red Dead Redemption or whatever, right?
Okay, that's fair.
That kind of thing to me is just busy work. It's like, unless you're a completionist that wants to do it anyways, I'm not going to do it because some guy sat at his office and like, I got to come up with achievements. Oh, pet every cow in the freaking game.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that kind of like busy work. Like, no,
Yeah.
thanks.
I was just thinking, like, as far as the stats go, maybe some of the companies do the achievements to get those stats because it's an easier way to implement. Whereas things like
You
I
could just
remember,
do that without. I mean, people have done that even without achievements. But yeah,
No, I know, but like I'm thinking back to when they were talking about figuring out Subnautica and figuring out like they were internally tracking where people were going in
Yeah.
the game to see how that worked.
So that's always been a thing in game dev.
Yes, but trying to figure out how to actually implement that would be much harder than just, okay, we're going to put achievements and see how far people get. Whereas tracking them in game and sending that back to the office or whatever, I wouldn't know how to implement that.
It was just collecting data, right?
Yeah, but I still wouldn't know how to collect data to in the game.
Well,
to
no
send
offense,
back.
honey, but this is because
I
we
know.
aren't really big
know.
programmers. But even I'm thinking
But
like,
I'm saying if we made a game that implementing the achievements to figure that out would be something I could actually do versus figuring
it
out
would be
data
easier in
collection.
the sense that like, yeah, all you have to do is make the achievement and then Steam could do it for you. But like, you could easily also just like collect data from a save and be like,
But then you'd also have to say that the game's collecting data, right?
yeah,
Like a
but
legality issue.
I think that's kind of, I mean, I would assume that's common knowledge that if you're playing a game online, and by online I mean even just connected to the internet, even a single player game, if you're playing a game, the devs are going to know like, oh, a lot of players are having trouble with this boss and they're not beating it. Maybe we need to tone it down, that kind of thing. So even if
I don't
there's
know,
not
if
an
you're playing
achievement,
a single player game, like if you were playing Subnautica, I wouldn't initially think they're tracking my movement to see where I fuck up or where I get stuck.
maybe
or
you'd have
something.
to opt into that kind of thing. I don't know.
So there might be a legality issue to it too.
I'm not sure about that.
But that's something, yeah, a bigger team could figure out, but a small team might not be able to.
Because
So
I mean, it
implementing
also
the
depends on
achievements-
the EULA that you signed. So if your end user agreement is like,
No one reads those.
exactly, there's like a million paragraphs in there, and in one little paragraph it could be like, oh, your save data or whatever is being sent back so that we can, for bug fixes or whatever.
Yeah.
And like most people, like, okay, fine, whatever. Who cares?
Yeah,
I just
because
want to
like
play the game.
you're not making an account when you're playing Subnautica, so the data they're collecting is not like personal shit. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
yeah. So most people probably don't care about that. I don't know if anyone's gonna sue over like, wait a minute, you see that I suck at Dark Souls. Anyway, yeah. So you've been playing Paper Mario still, huh?
Yep, I believe. Okay, so I'm
You got
gonna.
to an interesting part yesterday.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try and talk about this so that people that have played it, if you know, you know. But for people who haven't, hopefully it's not spoilery. So I've been playing, and I don't think I quite. Yeah, I got kind of frustrated with a little bit last night, but then I had a thought of what I could try.
You got lost in a level, basically.
Yeah, I got lost in the creepy steeple. So I shut that off because I got a little bit frustrated, and then I had a thought of what I could do afterwards. So I'll try that again later today. And yes, that was interesting because going through the creepy steeple seemed much quicker than I was expecting. And then the twist happened.
Yeah, that was
And
fun.
I didn't quite catch it at first, and then I did. And then I'm like, oh, so that's what happened. Okay, so now I got to figure out how to fix this. And then I get to the part where, yeah, Vivian comes out with her line that was censored in the original version, or the original American version. And it's interesting because if this is more in line with the actual Japanese translation, it's just a single line. So it's kind of surprising that back in, 2005 did this come out?
I don't remember the exact date. Yeah.
But when this originally came out, that
GameCube.
they censored this single line, which seems so mundane in these days. But
Well,
maybe
these
it's
days
factored.
things have changed so fast.
That's true. Because, yeah, I mean, it's just like, oh, I was their brother until I figured out I was their sister. And that's it. And it's interesting to think, would people really have lost their fucking minds back then?
I don't know. I remember even back in the
Is it
GameCube,
because it's a kid's game?
back in the GameCube days when I played Paper Mario, I didn't realize that was what she was supposed to be. And like then I read about it and it's like, oh, interesting. And like, but you also think about it back then in the sense of like, oh, those wacky Japanese, and like that was back in the day of, you remember Big Heart? Was his name Big Hard Gay or Hard Gay or
Hard gay, yeah, something.
like they have their own version of that kind of stuff. So it's like it's just a
That
different
was
culture.
interesting too
Like,
with Hard Gay, just as a quick thing, because
you, yeah.
people liked it though.
Well,
but
yeah, but like
then some people found it offensive too. So
that's what I mean.
it's-
Like it's a different culture. Like
Yeah.
they have their cultural norms. What is okay and funny to them might not be okay and funny over here, and vice versa. And like there's no, I mean, I almost said there's no fixing that, and you don't need to fix it. Everyone has their own culture. It's just you have to keep that in mind when you're viewing other people's culture, that like this is funny to them, maybe it's offensive over here, but you could say the same thing about like certain things for them seeing it here. Like it's just, you just gotta accept that. I mean, I don't know if you have to accept it, but you have to kind of
Realize that
realize, yeah, that like it isn't always a malicious thing. It's just, that's just a
how they
different,
grow up.
yeah.
Yeah, hopefully as long as the things aren't like violent or super bad. But
And it's just like, and sometimes they learn from it, and sometimes we're becoming like this global fucking culture, I guess. Because like, yeah, Persona 5 had that thing too, with like there was some jokes about trans stuff, but like in Japan they probably didn't even look at it at that. Like, remember when we were watching Midnight Diner, which is fantastic and everyone should watch it if you haven't.
yeah, I wish they would make more seasons, but I understand that they won't.
Midnight Diner has one of those characters that I guess in the West we would think is like, oh, is this person trans or cross-dresser
Actually,
or
they
whatever?
have multiple characters.
And it's like, it's different. You can't.
Yeah, because even the translated line, I don't know if they said this exactly in Japanese. I don't remember. But at one point, they're like chasing after the character, and the young woman asks the police officer, or was it vice versa? One of them asks the other, is that a man or a woman? And the police officer's like, just shrugs, and he's like, I don't know. It doesn't, like, either does it matter or I just don't know. Because
Yeah.
it's kind of like the characters, in a sense, both, I guess you could see.
Mm.
But yeah, they have the thing where they have the whether the person counts as a transgender person or what's the cross-dresser. I don't know
Yeah,
if they have one
it's
or the
different,
other.
right? It's different because like here in the West we have trans people, and we have people who are like what do they call them, like drag queens. It's like completely different. And then in Japan you have something that is also completely different than either of those two. So it's like there's just,
And sometimes drag queens can be cisgender, and sometimes drag queens can be transgender.
And when you're mixing like different cultures, like it gets even trickier because you're putting your perspective from your culture into what you're observing in their culture, and it's like it can
And then there's
become
also the
messy.
translation aspect.
Yeah, so it can be kind of messy. And it's like just going back to Mario, it makes me wonder like what the original intention was, because like we're viewing it from our Western lens, and especially now in 2020s from like this modern versus like 20 years ago in Japan. So there's like two huge gaps, the time and the location and culture. So it is
I
interesting.
will say though, like, I haven't used like quote unquote the tattle skill on the three sisters. Would they count as do they count as ghosts or something? Because you could say at least just our cultural interpretation. Vivian was say born a boy and they figured out that they were a girl. But at the same time they're also ghosts, so like it would work different for them anyways because they don't have genitals.
Well, I mean, this is getting to the point where like
No,
we're
but-
thinking way too deeply for these
No,
Mario
I
characters.
know, but it's kind of interesting to me because the ghosts don't have genitals. So their idea of trans would be different than our idea of trans.
I guess. Let's move on.
Right? Sorry, I found it interesting. But
When
also,
we're talking about freaking genitals and Paper Mario, it's like,
I mean,
okay, come on.
I'm just saying it might work different for them because they're not humans. And also because my other thing that I was like, Flurry? Like, okay, she's supposed to be a cloud, right?
Yeah.
And I admit, I kind of look at her and I'm like, it's just, she's
Yeah.
got the boobs. But then I also understand that she's a cloud, so gravity doesn't work on her like it would on a human, so it makes sense that they're so circular.
She is a weird looking character, but she's in reference to a type, and I don't know what that is called.
Like the older, old school, kind of like maybe not Victorian era.
I don't know. It's like this old timey big lady. I don't know how to even call it, so I'm not gonna say anything. But yeah, she's a reference to a specific type, and she pulls off that look. But to me, that look is kind of like, especially in her art, is a little like unsettling for some reason. I don't know if that comes out wrong. Not unsettling. It's just she kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't know. There's just something about her. It's like, oh, I don't like you. I want to use a different character.
Okay, but from my perspective, I'm just saying I figured out, she's a cloud, so gravity doesn't work on her.
Yeah.
And that's why she looks like that. So does that
Okay.
make sense? That was just my
Sure.
thing. Well, because there's a lot of games where, like, a human character will have circular boobs like that. Whereas that's not how boobs work, but because she's a cloud, that's how hers work.
Again, thinking way too deeply over
Okay, fine.
2D
but-
cartoony boobies
Okay,
on
but
Cloud
can you
Lady.
let me just...
I mean,
that's my
you're
thing.
fine. Yeah, totally. You're fine.
That's-
I'm just saying
I wanted to think too deeply about cartoon characters.
you don't think too deeply about cartoon character boobies.
Great, now I seem like the fucking weirdo.
I mean, you're the one that brought it up. I think her design is...
I'm
to
just
me,
going
her
through
design,
my brain logic.
To me, the weird part of her design is not her boobs, is all I'll say.
Well, it was to me.
I think to me, her face and like or her overall thing is what kind of creeps me out.
Well, the boobs kind of play into her overall.
I mean, everyone has their own
giant
thing,
lips
so
and thing.
yeah. What a game.
More like what a fucking podcast.
I mean, yeah.
Do you want to talk about what you playing?
What did I guess I kind of...
This is Genshin.
Yeah, I kind of stopped playing Fallout. I'm gonna wait until the update. I think I'm just done with Fallout for now. So just been playing Genshin because like, I thought I have those two big new countries to explore. So I started up and I'm like, actually, there's this other place underground under the Japanese islands that you haven't explored yet. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll go do that.
So is it underground like spelunking or underground like sewer system?
It's like, okay, on one of the it wasn't the last islands, but one of the end islands in the Japanese story arc, there was like these, I don't want to say like a sea kingdom, but like a very sea themed. And they have like this whirlpool thing. And it's like, oh, apparently there's something down there. We're going to unlock it so you can go see. I don't remember the exact detail of why they wanted to go down there. So we open up the whirlpool and it's kind of like WoW with like the Maelstrom. You go into the Maelstrom and you're like, instead of being underwater, that's like this under the sea cave system. There's some water down there, but not that much. And there's like a bunch of like sea dragons and ruins, and you're like then you get to this one part where the cave opens up and it's like this big open space, and like it just goes on forever. Like you could fall forever. It's like, whoa, what is going on here? And like the center island that's floating has like this weird like fake sun kind of thing, even though it's like underground. And like you can turn the fake sun off and on, and like depending on like if the fake sun is on or if the fake sun is off, you get like this nighttime or daytime in the underground. And like you're going through this like this ruined underground city with this sun and night system, and it was interesting. I guess it wasn't the best expansion of their, you know, overworld or whatever, but like it was fine. I think the thing that hurts it is that it's like it clearly feels like we're gonna make this extra little land, but it doesn't really tie too much into the story. It's more
Do you
like,
think they did that because they based their game so much on the first Breath of the Wild that when they get to Tears of the Kingdom, they're like, oh shit, they're adding underground, so we should too?
no, because this is way before Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Tears of the Kingdom was just last year, right? Whereas this update was like I think 2 years ago.
Oh, okay. Never mind then.
Yeah, because then like last year they updated with, I think it's called Sumeru, and I think it's based off like Korea. I'm not entirely sure, but like it's got a lot of like jungle biomes, and then like they updated another one and it has like a desert biome. And I think the new one coming out next year is going to be like Russian themed. I don't know. I'm actually not 100% sure.
Go over
Well, it's fine because those characters have always been in the game. They've been kind of the antagonists, actually. But they actually do a pretty good job. Like when you play the original release, you still get like the European setting, and then like their border countries, like this Chinese city or Chinese country, and you go there and you meet some of the people from the quote unquote Russia of the game. I forget what it's called, like Chechnya or something. I don't know. And like you meet this guy, and you know he's an interesting character, and it's fun to interact, and like without getting too crazy into it, the characters and the stories generally are pretty good. So I have confidence that like whatever stories they're introducing, they're probably going to be fine. They're not going to be bad. They'll be at least decently entertaining, even if they're not like mind-blowing. But some of the stories actually have been not quote unquote mind-blowing, but actually emotionally engaging. Like some of the characters are really good. So yeah, I mean, I think they'll do fine. I haven't experienced any of that new stuff yet because like I'm still cleaning up like this Japanese stuff that I've missed out on. So I think I'm finally done with that underground. I could explore it more because there's still like a couple sections I haven't even touched, but like as far as like the overarching story of that little area, I think I'm finally done. I got to the boss, and yeah, now I'm just gonna be like, do I finish up or do I actually move on to this other part? So I'm looking forward to it. It's still, yeah, the game is massive. Like holy cow, there's even more than I expected.
Well,
And I was already expecting a lot.
Well, maybe next week I can talk more about the 1,000-Year Door and try not to get stuck on a weird subject about it.
Yeah, you think you're, how many of the,
if I finish up the creepy steeple, that should be the fourth?
Only the fourth, huh? I thought you were a lot closer to the end.
Yeah, I think I've finished the third one. The third star.
Okay, yeah, because you got the little Yoshi guy.
Yeah.
He is like, I barely remember him.
He's cute, but it's funny that he still refers to Mario as Gonzalez for his
oh, yeah.
name. And no one else brings it up. It's just like, whatever. This is what he knows him as.
I like that they let you do that.
And I'm just going to assume the little Yoshi's wearing like a diaper since he just popped out of the egg.
Oh, I thought he was wearing like shorts.
I mean, it's probably is shorts, but I'm just going to headcanon it as diapers because he's a baby.
Sure.
Even though he talks perfect English.
Have you been enjoying the characters and the stories and the weirdness of it all?
Yeah, I think so. I've been trying my best to like play the character because I know the companion characters don't level up like Mario does. So they're not running behind in that aspect. I don't use the Goomba girl as much as I probably should, in the sense that like I should be using her tattle ability more often. I tend to enjoy using Koops, which, oh god, another Cooper. Koops more often because he just has the best ability to target multiple characters outside of Mario. And then, like, you kind of get used to the attack timing for the characters, so I get more used to them, and then I go back to Goombella, or poor thing, I forgot her name already. And then I have to, like, get readjusted to her attack timing.
Yeah.
So I end up
She just jumps like Mario.
I know, but somehow, like, her multiple headbox, I keep screwing up. I don't know. Whatever. That's a me issue. But yeah, I do enjoy the characters. I do wish to make the cardboard cutouts of them. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I remember playing that on the GameCube and just like how goofy they go with everything, and they let themselves get a little dark or a little silly. And like a lot of the Mario games are silly, but like I don't know, somehow it felt extra in this game in particular.
Well, I haven't played the other Paper Marios. I know they do seem to go super silly in the Mario and Luigi series.
Mario and Luigi's pretty silly too, but again, it's more like a okay. Paper Mario is also kind of PG, but Mario and Luigi is PG in the sense that like it feels PG. Where A Thousand Year Door sometimes can surprise you.
Well, I guess we'll see. If I'm only at the 4th star, then I got a few more to go anyways. So
yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I remember really loving that game on GameCube.
Did they remake the first one, or is this the first?
I don't know.
Because I would like to play that one too. I'll have to see if they have it on the store or something.
I've never finished the first one. I don't think I even got that far in the first one. I remember the Ninja Turtles being in it. Well, a reference to them being in it. Yeah. All right, well.
I think that's good for this week.
Yeah, we've again rambled on for over.
We've rambled. Oh, God forbid people listen to a podcast for rambling.
No, I mean, yeah, that's fine. Hopefully, like when I listen to podcasts like this, is it good to fall asleep too? I hope so. Anyway.
We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.